Hey y'all. All right, so boom. I got a question for y'all, right? Have you ever have you ever found yourself in a situation or having a result that initially upsets you and then you come to realize that that result or that situation is actually a blessing, right? And now, mind you, you don't realize at the beginning that it's a blessing, but you realize later that it's actually kind of a blessing. And I usually don't talk about things like this because uh, I want to streamline the message that I'm trying to get across, which is the gospel. But this is just something I've been seeing something on, like seeing things on YouTube about politics, and then something that I got in the mail, and this it bothered me, right? So um, I recently tried to re-register to vote, right? Um, and I get this letter in the mail from the government that I've lived in this country my entire life, never lived in another country ever, right? I get this letter in the mail from my government telling me that because I'm a convicted felon, my uh, registry to re-register to vote is denied. I am not allowed to vote in this country that I've lived in my entire life because I'm a convicted felon, right? And what bothers me about it is that it's clear to me, it should be clear to anyone that all that is voter suppression at its finest, right? Because this is what they do. They build these prisons in communities that tend to vote a certain way, right? Uh, they're not urban communities. They build these prisons in non-urban communities, and what they don't tell you is that every person in that prison is counted towards the population of whatever county or city or state that the prison is in. They count those votes. They count those people as the population towards the population of wherever that prison is. And mind you, where they're placing these prisons, right? So then after those people get set free, they turn them loose. Those people go back to their communities, which tend to not be suburban communities, but urban communities. And now that they're back where they live, you strip away their right to vote. So now they can't be counted when they go back home, but they can be counted towards the population. It's just so, uh, it's just voter suppression, man. And I get it. It's the fact that I'm a convicted felon. It's my fault. It was a stupid felony, but you know what I'm saying. It was my fault. You know what I mean. Ultimately, so I gotta hold that. But I just don't get it. But see, what I was thinking was, see, initially I was mad because I was thinking about the voter suppression, and I was thinking like, this is just crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, how they gonna do me like this? You know what I'm saying? But really, when I think about it, it's like a blessing in disguise, man, because we're at this place where, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. You know what I mean? Uh, and not just people of a certain demographic, like black people will disagree, white people will disagree, everything in between will disagree because we're all, right now, politically, we're all over the place. You know what I mean? At first, black people hated Donald Trump. Now, not a lot of black people still hate Donald Trump, but a lot of people like Donald Trump, right? And same with Joe Biden or whatever. And but I realized that, man, like, if I do have that right to vote, what do I do in this situation? Like, what do I do in this particular situation? I wouldn't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? It's like you got Donald Trump, right? Who, and I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. I scratched my head when I watched this guy give a speech because it's like literally every time I watch Donald Trump give a speech, It's like I'm in the twilight zone. It's like I'm in this universe where I'm the only person that can listen to this man speak and hear how unintelligent he is, and nobody else can hear how unintelligent. Now, I don't mean like bad decision making or any of that. You know what I mean? We you can go into that if you want to. You know what I mean? His business decisions have not, despite what people think, people his supporters think, his business decisions have not all been good decisions, not even remotely close to that. Uh, but then they haven't been all bad decisions either. But it's like if you listen to him talk, and look, I'm being objective. Many people may think the same thing about me. They may think that when they hear me speak, I sound unintelligent to them. You know what I mean? That's fair. That's your opinion. But it's my opinion that when I hear this man talk, he is not an intelligent person at all. Like he is the farthest thing from intelligent. And what's crazy is it speaks to the general consensus of the concern that Americans have more than anything. You know what I mean? More than anything, people care about money, economics. That's the main thing. That's it. Economics is like everything to them, right? I mean, look at Donald Trump. Like basically, for me, Donald Trump shows me that you can be a complete. I'm not gonna call him an idiot, but you can be astonishingly unintelligent, but have a good business acumen, and that'll be enough to get you the presidency of the United States. You can be a dummy, but be a good business person, and that's enough to get you the presidency of the United States. And I'm not saying this in support of Joe Biden. No way. That's my point. I wouldn't know what to do because you got Donald Trump, who I listen to that man and I don't see intelligence whatsoever. Whatsoever. But then you got Joe Biden, who he seemed like he's supposed to be in Shady Pines somewhere with the Golden Girls. You know what I'm saying? Like this man don't even. I could, if I wanted to, if I was a comedian or a comic or whatever it's called. No, I'm not. I'm not trying to say like I'm one of the greats. You know, I'm no Dave Chappelle. I'm no Cat Williams. You know what I mean? But I could tell a good joke when I want to make people laugh. I can make people laugh. I could literally write a 30-minute bit about Joe Biden being the president of the United States, and for 30 minutes I can have everybody in the audience falling out their seat laughing. That's how much it's like a real life joke, like watching Joe Biden as the president of the most powerful nation in the world. That's like a terrible joke. You know what I mean? So it's like, what do you do? You know what I'm saying? And again, I'm not knocking Joe Biden. I'm not knocking Donald Trump. This is just my personal opinion, which I probably shouldn't even be sharing, right? Probably shouldn't even be touching on this. But it was the voter suppression thing that got to me. You know what I mean? Now, I will say, uh, if somebody came up to me and put a pistol to my head and was like, vote, pick one, or I'm going to blow your head off, Donald Trump, buddy old pal, you got my vote, buddy. You know what I mean? Like I say that. I definitely wouldn't be voting for no Joe Biden. But it's just crazy to me, man. Like, and then it's like what made me think about politics earlier was like, all right, so before I mentioned how I said think somebody knocking at my door, but I don't want no company. So what's crazy is like, all right, so I mentioned in the video before how I think the best way to stimulate the economy is to stimulate the lower and middle class, right? Now, when I say stimulate the lower and middle class, I'm not talking about things like quantitative easing or any I'm not talking about any measure that is taken to sort of stop the bleeding of an upside down economy. By that time, it's too late. If you're doing QE1 or QE2 or QE3 or QE4, quantitative easing is just a measure to kind of slow the bleeding of something that's already upside down. I mean genuine stimulation of the economy of the lower class. But The problem is, number one, they seem to think that there's only one way to do that, which is to raise the minimum wage, right? When that is an effective way to do it, but that's not the only way, but that's the one they go to, right? So then the conservatives in trying to fight that, they talk about all these companies that are laying people off and firing people because the minimum wage is being raised. What I don't understand is, why is it that stimulating the lower and middle class and aiding business owners, why do those things have to be mutually exclusive? It's like you got one party who wants to, and y'all don't see it. Like what y'all don't see is, y'all see these conservatives who, you see, like what you see. All right, Donald Trump, for instance, right? You see how he, you have more money in your pockets, right? And that's what you care about. You know what I mean? It seems like the economy is booming, right? But the part that you don't see is that the gap between the middle class and the super rich got much, 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 much wider. It got much wider. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't say white like the color white, wide. Like, that gap got much, much wider. And that was initially the issue that a lot of people had. Why is there such a gap between the middle class and the super rich? But then they can continue to grow that gap. But as long as they put a little bit of money in your pocket, you be like, hey, I'm cool, I don't mind, right? And then you got the other side, who, the liberals, who they want to. Let me start by saying this: I get $67 every month of food stamps. I got an EBT card. I get $67 every month, right? That $67 pays for about a week of groceries, and I thank God for it. So if you want to find fault with me for getting my little $67 every month, find fault all you want, right? Now I'm cool with it. You know what? After everything that I've been through, I ain't even gonna sit here in front like I don't feel like, hey, I'll take that. Yeah, let me get them $67, right? So I get my little $67, and it pays for about a week of groceries every month, and it's a blessing to me, right? But at the same time, I do think that that party will try to make it to where people depend on the government to the extent that, um, uh, it's almost as though they don't want people to become wealthy, right? And I know that a lot of Christians find fault with me, and they accuse me of that because I go against the prosperity gospel. It doesn't mean that I don't want people to be wealthy. It just means that I know that Scripture says that gain is not godliness. Not saying that if you have gain, you're not godly. I'm saying that that is not what the Scripture teaches. That gain is godliness. You know what I mean? So that that part. But it's like they think that these two things are mutually exclusive, where you, in order to stimulate the lower class, you have to completely ignore the business owners. What I don't understand is, okay, why can't we say, look, raising the minimum wage is a great idea, but we all have to be realistic in knowing that this issue that we're having and wanting to stimulate the middle and lower class, it's not something. And this is why you're not going to see major change between president and president, because it's going to take more than 8 years, right? And the beginning stages of it is probably going to look a little bit rough. And most presidents, they don't care about, genuinely, they don't care about the country in terms of the long game. They want their term to look. They want the history to look good when it reflects on their term, right? But really, it's going to take a president who's going to say, you know what, my term is probably going to look a little bit rough because this issue that we're having, it's going to take 10 to 12 years for us to really start seeing results. I only got 8 years in the presidency. I only got 8 years in office. So if it doesn't necessarily, if I don't get my flowers, if it don't look good for me, but I see the things that are the efforts that are being made and the changes that are being made, the long game, I see that this is going to have a very positive residual effect, I'm willing to do that. That's pretty much unheard of, right? But Why not raise the minimum wage? But then, since y'all so big on tax breaks for the rich and for these companies, then you say tax break. All right, for every company that if we make it to where the minimum wage is X amount, right? We're going to make that affordable for these companies by offering them tax breaks. We're going to make it affordable to them by giving them kickbacks. You don't mind doing it any other time, giving companies kickbacks when y'all, these lobbyists, and I'm not going to get all into all that, but incentivize these companies. You know what I mean? And to be honest, and a lot of people are going to get mad at me for saying this, but if raising the minimum wage, um, if raising the minimum wage makes it so that fast food companies can't make a profit because they have to pay people more, then I don't think the issue is the government. I think the issue is the business model. And if the business model is not right, then it's kind of a problem that takes care of itself, because we also live in the most obese nation in the world. You know what I'm saying? So, but don't get mad at me, y'all. If you want some fast food, I ate pizza yesterday. You know what I'm saying? I ate some cake and bought some milk yesterday. So I'm not, I cheat every once in a while. I have my cheat days. You know what I'm saying? But my point is, though, they don't have to be mutually exclusive. You can raise the minimum wage, but then also provide breaks for the companies that are paying their employees more, right? You can these things. It's a big picture. I mean, I shouldn't have gotten into politics, really, to be honest. But I just don't understand, man. I don't understand how you can take away a person's right to vote for a mistake that they made almost a decade ago. You know what I mean? But then at the same time, they be the same people that tell a person you need to move on with your life. You got to move on with your life. Like, you got to move on with your life, but at the same time, you still have to suffer the consequences of things that you did a decade ago, but still move on. Which one is it? Do I move on, or do I have to live in my past mistakes? You gonna bring up my mistakes, or do I get to move on? Which one is it? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, America. I'm don't get me wrong, I'm proud to be in America. And I think America is the greatest nation in the world. I do, for a lot of reasons. I think we got a lot of problems, but I think I'm blessed to be born in America, right? But I don't understand it, man. I might not post this video, but then I might post it. We'll see. I don't understand it. Yeah. I don't understand it, man.